Warning, this video is not created with malicious intent towards the subject. Don't go to the subject's channel and insult him or her. Well, I can't say that I'm surprised my first commentary got some negative feedback. There were some things I definitely could have done better. But hey, improvement's always beneficial. Ooh, somebody decided to make a commentary on this video. So I wonder what this person brought to the table. What? Okay, now before I get this video started, I need to say this. I'm not doing this commentary just because the videos I'm covering are a commentary on me. I'm not doing this just to defend myself. I'm doing this because the person in question, LonelyFanboy48, asked me to do this because he legitimately wants to see what's wrong with the videos I'm covering in video form. Here's what I mean. Originally, I just planned to leave this comment on his third part, but after I did, LonelyFanboy respected what I said, admitted that he did a rather poor job with the video, and wanted to see more about what he did wrong in a commentary. So when he responded, I decided to accept his request because by doing this, not only will I be helping him improve his content, but it'll also allow me to see what exactly I'm supposed to gain from my first commentary, and how I can improve from the lukewarm to negative reception of it. Okay, that's enough, so let's do this.
Before I begin this video, I'm not gonna make that much commentary since commentaries aren't good anymore. I don't want to explain that much. It's just, you pretty much know that commentaries nowadays aren't really good. But
woo! You already failed something in YouTube Video 101. When you want to begin a YouTube video, you want something that captures the interest of your audience. Showing us nothing but a black screen with just your voice doesn't really do that. It kind of makes your viewers, shall we say, bored. And about what you said about commentaries being bad nowadays, dude, there are plenty of commentaries that would like to have a word with you. And I want to ask you something. If you think commentaries are not good anymore, then why the crap are you doing one yourself? You're just making a video that is under a category that you dislike. Logic?
anyway, the guy that I'm commenting on is Jack Stevenson. If you don't know who this guy is, I'll tell you. You see, he makes videos of top 10 lists and does LPs of them. And one of his favorite video game franchises is Ratchet & Clank, and he did like the movie. So he went to Electric Dragon 505, in other words, Animat's reviews, and he saw his review of Ratchet & Clank, and he decides to defend the movie because he's a fanboy.
Wow, since you literally have the word fanboy in your username, I find it really ironic that you described me as a fanboy. Joking aside though, we're less than a minute in and there's already a big issue. Why exactly are you just commentating over a black screen when describing me? If you're describing me, wouldn't it be a lot better to show some footage from videos that I have made so that your audience can get a good grasp of who you're talking about? I'm just saying that footage from recent works of mine would be a heck of a lot better for describing me than just a black screen.
I really don't like it into this fanboy business at all. What I do like it involved is that he just defends the movie from some points that Animat made. And I really didn't agree with him that much. I do agree some points, but most of them is just defending the movie because he's a fanboy. Sometimes critics don't agree with you. They don't play video games and they don't watch anime that much. So anyway, let's get this started. And by the way, here's my avatar I'm going to be using for my commentaries. Yeah, it's Rainbow Dash from Across Your Doors. And no, I'm not picking any photos from the My Little Pony show. It's just going to be from Across Your Doors. So I didn't see the Ratchet & Clank movie, but I do understand why Animat doesn't like this movie that much. And I did play the video games, just not the PS3 games, and I can pretty much understand what the series is. I did my research.
Okay, there are two things immediately wrong here. First thing is, yes, he set an iPad in front of images of Rainbow Dash on a computer and recorded his voice via that method. I can understand you wanting to use your iPad to record your voice, as the iPad recorder can get you some decent results in recording your voice, although there are tons of other options I recommend over it, but I digress. But why do you need to set your iPad in front of images of Rainbow Dash on a computer? One of your recordings gives away that you have a computer on hand, so why not save screenshots of what you want on that computer or your iPad and save your voice recordings as audio files and edit them together? Even default editing softwares like Movie Maker and iMovie can do that. And if you're using some editing software that somehow gives you less editing options than default editing softwares, don't use it at all. Doing what you did isn't killing two birds with one stone. It's letting out a snowball that becomes an avalanche, especially due to the fact that the camera's quality constantly dips. For example, it looks like it's almost at 720p at points, whereas other times it looks like it's going to 240p or below that. The second thing is, you took really awkward pauses in between your sentences, or even in some of your statements. Leaving in pauses like that can cause the video to become more disorienting and harder to watch. If this is due to a speech disability, well then I'm sorry about that, but there are ways to compensate, like using your editing software to select your voice clips and leaving out the pauses, or by using something like Audacity to delete them. If you can find a way to get out those pauses, it'd help with your video's quality a lot. And you know, doing multiple takes won't hurt you either.
So if any of you guys think that I don't understand the series as a whole, well, I do. I just haven't seen the movie, and I did saw Animat's review before Jack Stevenson's commentary on him, and I can understand what Animat's coming from, but most of his points are just really weak. Also, me saying about this fanboy thing that I do not want to get involved, well, you see, fanboys just literally defend movies on franchises that critics don't like, and that's something I cannot enjoy, like Fred the movie, the Pokemon movies, etc. It's just that fanboys or fangirls or whatever just defend movies because they know more than the critics themselves. Well, let me tell you this. I like Pokemon, and I kind of like Fred, but I can't just go against the critics of what they hate.
Okay, I get that you want to explain what you believe a fanboy is, which is just to fill in your new viewers who have no idea what your views on them are, but the big problem is that you are spending way too much time on it. You're spending more than a minute discussing their status, with mentioning the Pokemon movies, not adding anything in the process, and making the video feel padded out, which is a big no-no in commentaries. Not helping your case is your description that you stated earlier about me going after Animat just to defend the movie, pretty much gives us an understanding of what fanboys do. Should you ever bring up your views on fanboys, try to condense it to something like, a reason why I don't like fanboys that much is because they defend things like movies and video games like crazy, with little to no evidence to back themselves up, and we basically understand what you're getting at.
Even people in general. Like, for example, when you make a movie just a terrible movie, you just want to get more fame and stuff, and that's when you get successful. So he got more fame when he made a person like Holly. And not only that, they made 2 more movies, which is why people really hate Wright, because he's really annoying. But I kind of like him for his YouTube videos. Now his movies just his YouTube videos, and I prefer him using YouTube videos. And as for Pokemon, I actually like the movies and some of the video games, and I do understand why critics really didn't like this movie. And I can understand what's coming on the first movie. And that's why I didn't like. I did enjoy the 4 PlayStation 2 games, but I didn't play 2, I did like. And I did play some PS3 games, but I really can't play PS3 at all. I'm always like, didn't get into topic. I'm always so I didn't get into topic about the commentary. I just want to prove my points on why critics just don't understand what fanboys do.
Well, you didn't exactly do that. All you did was just give your views on fanboys and wander around saying things that don't contribute anything to your overall commentary, which is why your intro took 4 minutes and 12 seconds, and the sad thing is, only about 2 of those minutes focused on important things to bring up and start things off with, and everything else was just rambling. I don't have an issue with opening speeches and commentaries being that long, but none of it should be dribble that has very little to do with what you mean. Almost everything, except for introducing me to your audience and giving your perspective on fanboys, could have been removed and nothing would change. Oh boy, this is gonna be something, alright. Okay, stop the video. What? Did you just place your camera in front of your computer and record my commentary that way? Okay, no. You can't do that if you want your video to be well presented, especially due to the fact that you can easily download Firefox and it's easy YouTube downloader. They don't take up much space on your computer, they're free, and you can capture my commentary in both 360p and 720p. If you don't want to download any applications, there are easy clip converters that you can find on websites that let you download videos you need up to 1080p. Or if you're using an iPad to edit your video, you can easily go to the App Store and find an app that lets you download YouTube videos. Placing your camera in front of your computer and recording that way screws with a lot of things in your video's presentation, like the audio and visual quality, making it much harder to watch. So for the rest of my commentary, I'll be using my original video instead of his recording of it. The only place where I won't is when I bring up another issue in this video.
I really didn't like that intro. Even though this may be your first commentary, but your first commentary about an intro about verses really doesn't work at all. I did like his review of the movie, but that intro wasn't really good.
Okay, first of all, you slurred some of your words together and took random pauses, making you much harder to understand. Second of all, well, what exactly didn't you like about my intro? Something about my editing? The music? Synchronization? What? All you bring up about my intro is that you don't like the verses part. But even then, you just leave it at that. Things like this need more explanation. Saying what you said is leaving worthless advice. Now, I'm going to skip ahead a minute, mostly because the first minute is just a bit of history leading up to the eventual review. It isn't bad, there's just nothing to say. So when I'm going to skip a segment of this video, you'll see this.
Next! Okay, I'm not saying that this is a bad idea, but you should need to understand that critics don't play video games that much. I mean, movie critics. What I mean by that is movie critics.
You put the statement that critics don't play video games that much in a segment where I had legitimately nothing to say to a part of Animat's video and thus brought out a skip card? Might I ask, what does your comment have anything to do with what I just said? And about movie critics not playing video games that much, that's not 100% true. It is true that some critics on the internet, like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, don't play video games that much, if at all, but others like Metacritic, IGN, and a good number of YouTube critics do have a track record of playing modern-day video games. What you're saying is a really big generalization that can be applied to some movie critics, but not others.
And they really don't understand video games like you do. So, if you're just gonna skip ahead the history and why he doesn't play the games, then you don't understand where he's coming from.
No, I'm skipping past his intro because I didn't have anything to say. I understand perfectly what he said in that part of the video. He gave history about the franchise and said he didn't have much knowledge of the series going into the movie. But there are two things. One, in my commentary on him, I said that his lack of Ratchet & Clank knowledge made a good number of his complaints a lot weaker, so that gives away that I get what he said. And two, the fact that he gave a brief history implies that he has done some research on the series, because no one wouldn't exactly know that Insomniac went from Spyro to Ratchet & Clank right off the top of their head, unless the person in question followed Sony since the PS1 days, which Animat has not. Now, when he did that research is beyond me, but I can still understand him okay. It's just a shame that his review itself was flawed, at least to me.
And some of your points in this commentary were understandable. It still doesn't make the fact that this commentary is really bad, even for your first commentary.
You're not even a minute into my commentary and you're already giving it a verdict? Sheesh, talk about being too quick to judge.
The story.
Nice to know that your category transitions have remained incredibly bland and slow. Just a fading screen with a slightly cropping image and stationary text. Come on, this is 2016, not 2009. Flare up a little bit. Add a clip from a movie or a trailer instead of having a stationary picture. Add some effects to your text. Add a small music clip.
Is it really a big deal that he just uses the same thing over and over again?
Actually, yes, because when you use a slightly cropping image and stationary text, it's going to wear down after a while. Now, transitions with a clip, some effects to the text, and a small music clip are much more appealing because they open possibilities to let the one creating the video be more creative and create more appeal for the audience. Whereas in the case of an image as stale text, there's not much you can do to make it look cooler. I get that having the best transitions isn't a necessity, but they should be treated with as much care as the rest of the video if you want to leave a full good impression on the target audience. Not to mention, Animat's been on YouTube for a while, so he was given enough time to update his presentation, and he still does have time, all things considered, but he hasn't updated his transitions at the time I wrote this, so it still looks bland and outdated. And I want Animat to do something to make it look overall better, since access to better editing resources has been easier to do than in 2009. Although, to your credit, I definitely could have worded my issue a lot better in my original video. The attempts to make something into good movie material is very noticeable, but you completely missed it.
Okay, first of all, the reason why he missed it is because he just doesn't understand what it's trying to tell at all. And even though, yes, what you said about Super Mario Brothers and Bloodline isn't really good because they try to make an adaptation that is so bad that it's so unwatchable, that made me wish that they don't exist. And about him missing the point, that's because he has no interest in Ratchet & Clank whatsoever.
Okay, let me get this straight. The reason why Animat missed details about the movie, that should have been taken into account, mind you, was all because he didn't have any interest in the series whatsoever. So in other words, he chose to miss details in the movie on purpose just because of his lack of interest. That is not what an internet reviewer should do. They're supposed to analyze every detail that a movie has and give valid praise and valid criticism when it's necessary. And even though Animat missed several details in the movie, I seriously doubt he did it deliberately. This is a case of you wording yourself so poorly that it goes against your intentions for this commentary. So, good job failing one of the most basic steps in Commentary 101, man. All you say is that the humor is meta and snarky, which doesn't give the viewer a good idea of what you mean. Furthermore, you don't even show any jokes you found unfunny. You need something to prove your point. You can't just say that while playing trailer footage that contributes nothing to your argument. You need to show a joke you found unfunny or tell us one of them, not just expect us to take your word for it without any evidence. Your audience is not a bunch of sheep.
Okay, I can understand that he needs to elaborate, but you're missing one thing. Animat makes some really good points on why the humor doesn't work. Why? Well, first of all, he can't find any clips at all on why the humor is good or bad.
Well, I can find some clips that may suffice. As early as a month before the movie came out, there were some clips released on YouTube, and a good number of them do show off some of the film's humor. So we could have easily just used a few of those, and his points would be a lot more effective. Heck, one of the clips I mentioned was used in his actual review, though in the wrong place. So Animat had to have been aware of these clips.
Secondly, Animat is a really smart critic. He started this in 2009 all the way to right now.
Okay, you think Animat's a smart person. That's cool and all, but what does that have to do with my complaint? You're deliberately trying to debunk a complaint of mine about Animat being incredibly vague about what he meant with the humor, and not showing any footage to prove his point with... He's a smart person. Okay, by that logic, it's perfectly fine to say that all of the issues in Josh Scorcher's top 10 games I want to like are rendered moot because Josh Scorcher is a smart person. You can't use a person's status to debunk points. A good chunk of my real-life friends don't have a lot of experience with Ratchet & Clank and enjoyed the movie just fine. Heck, one of them even said the movie was an underdog and really deserved more praise. And I think they go under the general public area.
Maybe your friends are so nice that they just don't want to get any involvement to this fanboy thing whatsoever. Also, Animat, you state the obvious.
Wait, what? What do you mean by state the obvious? What's the obvious? What does it contribute to your point? I spent like 35 minutes trying to comprehend what you mean, but your poor wording makes that very difficult to do. It feels like you had something going, but then you just said screw it and put in the very vague response of the obvious. Also, you targeted that statement towards Animat. Did you forget that this is a commentary on me? That's like if all of a sudden in the middle of this video, I suddenly started talking to another movie critic like Chris Stuckman and asked him to fill in a point. In a commentary, you're supposed to be doing all the talking to your target at all times. Now rely on someone else to do the talking for you. Again, that's Commentary 101.
But it also throws in many PlayStation references to please the gaming audience. That was awesome!
Where's the PlayStation reference? Is it here? Nope. Is it here? Guess not. Is it here?
Nope.
You told a fact about the movie itself and failed to present anything proving it, and instead just played a random clip from the trailer. If you're not allowed to use clips from the movie because of copyright, why not just tell one of the many references in this movie? There are several of them, but you presented none of them, and instead added a random trailer clip that contributed nothing. GG.
Okay, I do agree with you that he shouldn't just tell the joke, but like I said, he didn't play the games, and he has no interest in them.
1. Refer back to what I said about you flipping your goal upside down when you made that lack of interest stuff. 2. What does Animat not playing any of the games and having no interest in them have anything to do with not showing one of the many Sony references in the movie? I made a point about that, and you completely went off topic to hammer in something you brought up at the most inopportune time. Stay focused.
Seriously, the critics aren't being jerks, they just want to review the movie and just get out of the way. I know they're not saying that the movie is terrible when they first saw it. They never play games, and they just have no interest in the series whatsoever.
How exactly do you know that? Have you actually heard other movie critics say anything like that? Because I sure haven't. Again, if you want to make a claim like that, back yourself up with evidence.
Are you guys irritated by that? Well, I do.
Star Wars and Ratchet & Clank share almost nothing in common aside from both being sci-fi films taking place in immense galaxies. If we're going by your judgment, it'd be perfectly fine to say the Silent Hill movie was trying hard to be Saw. Screw me.
Okay, first of all, you're right, but there's something you need to understand. That's not what Animat is talking about. How I know this? Well, let me show you this. I think what he was referring to is the backgrounds. You see, when he sees the backgrounds, he just thinks of himself that it's more like Star Wars. I know that they don't have lightsaber and stuff, but he was just pretty much too focused on the backgrounds.
Every place that Ratchet and the Galactic Rangers go to feel like they've been lifted directly from Star Wars. so it takes away some of the originality that the franchise would offer.
Notice how nowhere in there does he mention backgrounds. He was talking about the locations themselves, which should have a lot more things taken into account than just backgrounds. But I'll get to that later.
For example, Veldin is like Tatooine. Even though Tatooine's houses aren't the same as Veldin's, but they are in the desert, so I can really understand what Animat is trying to say.
I won't deny that both Veldin and Tatooine are desert-like planets, but here's my problem with what you're saying. In the examples you just showed, you only say that the backgrounds have similarities and the planets themselves have the same theme, which isn't enough to make them qualifications for a ripoff. Is there anything else about Veldin that makes it seem like a Tatooine ripoff? Does Tatooine have large metal structures resistant to heat? Does Veldin have some kind of cantina? Does Veldin have some kind of large vehicle similar to the Sandcrawler? If you want to call Veldin a Tatooine wannabe, there's more you gotta take into account than what you just named.
And here's another example. Metropolis is just like Coruscant. Even though they're not the same and Coruscant is way bigger, he pretty much sees this more of a comparison to another movie, and they look the same.
He sees this as a comparison to another movie. Well, if that's the case, then why didn't he bring that up in his review? He gave no mention to any other movie in his review besides Star Wars. So this begs the questions, why didn't he bring it up in his review to begin with, and how do you know about it?
It's just that he looks way closer to the movie than you think. He just sees the backgrounds completely the same from Star Wars. And besides, he didn't explain the fight scenes or any of that is similar to Star Wars. Well, the shooting, but that's common in sci-fi movies. And I do agree with you that Ratchet and Clank isn't the same as Star Wars since they're different. But Animat just look at the movie way closer than you think.
A, you stated nearly the same thing within a span of 34 seconds. Nice. B, you claim you paid more attention than I think, and yet you only say you took the backgrounds into account. Hey, dude, if you say I paid more attention than I thought, can you please list more than just the backgrounds? If you're talking about the entirety of the planets in general, those would be locations, as he so called them. Backgrounds are supposed to be behind the locations to give a bit more characteristics to them. You think I didn't realize something? Then go ahead and tell me, because you can't say you paid more attention than I think, give very minimal evidence that contributes little to nothing to what you're trying to say, and expect me to take you seriously. See, there are multiple times where you say, you're right, and I agree with you, which considering you were trying to make a point about Animat paying more attention, makes me incredibly confused. A commentary is meant to criticize points someone makes, but the thing is, in a commentary, you can agree with anything your target is saying, as long as you provide a decent argument about a weakness of their point, but you don't do that, so I just perceive it as you agreeing, and any problems you have are most likely non-issues. If you think my point is fine, and not worth interjecting to, please be quiet. But even if you found them too goofy, give some explanation. You viewers don't have a good idea of what too goofy means in this case, so you gotta give some sort of detail as to what makes them too goofy for your tastes. Your audience is not a bunch of Mr. Zircons either, and when he said he'll get to the investment in the characters later, remember that this review's been failing so far, and just imagine what that'll be like.
I'm not gonna repeat myself again. Oh my gosh, at least we're halfway there. Okay, and secondly, not the people who watch this review, not all of them are Ratchet and Clank fans.
When did I say all of them were?
Didn't play the game, and they don't have interest in it whatsoever.
How exactly do you know that? I can see people being disinterested in the series, but there's a good chance that the statement right there may not apply to all of the non-Ratchet and Clank fans you speak of.
They just don't know about the series that much. And besides, him saying that the anime design is goofy and stuff, he actually did show a clip of Ratchet and that guy, and I do admit that guy's design is kind of goofy, and it just isn't used for me. Firstly, that's some wonderful English there. Secondly, you're speaking more from an opinionated standpoint. It's fine to mention opinions to support certain facts, but it's not fine when you use an opinion itself to debunk a point without any factual evidence. That never works. You need some concrete proof to give that opinion more ground to work with, especially when dealing with something that the Ratchet & Clank series has been doing ever since its origins.
But Jack, it's just his opinion.
Do you want your skeleton still in your body?
I'm suing you for violent threat!
Security!
Oh crap.
But the biggest problem of this movie is how it all came out in the rendering. If the rendering was a lot better, this film would have looked fantastic.
Care to explain what you mean by rendering? You left that complaint incredibly vague to the point where most people are going to have no idea what you're talking about. The footage you show doesn't do you justice either, as someone could see this and think it looks just fine. You gotta explain what you mean instead of leaving us in the dark.
You do realize that this movie's budget is $20 million, you know? That's why he said that the movie isn't as fantastic as it was. And the reason why he didn't explain it is because I just told you. The budget was $20 million.
Okay, yes, I do know the movie's budget was $20 million, which is a rather low amount compared to other movies nowadays, and I won't deny that a bigger budget can get some better animation. Most of the time. But if you believe that's the reason why Animat thought the rendering was a little off, don't you think he would have addressed that in his review? And there's another thing. You said that the movie didn't look as good as it once was, which implies that earlier trailers of the movie looked better than the actual movie. And that's not exactly the case. In fact, it got better towards the final product.
Sure you can, Quark. Just sound out the big words, like you practiced.
It's not that. Look!
I must get to Alero City. They are in danger.
Whoa. Hey, who's in danger?
An army is coming. I must warn them.
Hang on. Slow down. You've been in a crash.
To add to my point, Animat said the movie could have looked fantastic. He didn't say it once looked fantastic. Either you didn't pay attention to what he was even saying, or you poorly worded yourself again. And for the last part, he didn't explain because the movie's budget was $20 million. The way you said this makes it seem like the budget of the movie forced Animat to do more of a poor job on explaining himself. And no, Animat does not create his reviews that way, since none of the guys who made the Ratchet & Clank movie had any involvement with the review. In other words, there is no cause and effect between the budget and Animat's mistakes.
That's why Animat is right about this. The movie didn't have a lot of money to make the rendering look good. Sure, they have talent, but they didn't have a lot of money to make the rendering look fantastic.
But instead, it makes the overall visuals a bit sloppy, and instead of a movie, it looks more like, well, a cutscene powered by a gaming console.
You actually have a problem with a video game-based movie looking like a video game? Do you not realize how laughably stupid that sounds?
Yeah, I just don't agree with Animat's statement though. It's just pretty much what everyone feels when they didn't play the game. I really got no comment about this, and I do agree with him because...
So you're saying, and I do agree with him, despite saying 10 seconds earlier, I don't agree with Animat's statement there. What do you mean by him, exactly? This entire commentary is directed at me, so if by him you mean me, then you should replace the word him with you. The way you said that makes it seem like you were talking to a different person. If by him you meant Animat, then good job on completely contradicting yourself. Going by this, you're saying you don't agree with him, and then a few seconds later, saying you do agree with him. So which is it? Do you agree with him, or not?
Because, well, it's not true. That's pretty much the only thing I can agree with him about the critics not playing the games at all. That was actually kind of hilarious.
If these are the playable characters in the games, then I would probably never go play a single Ratchet & Clank game. I'll say this right now that the heroes of the film are purely despicable and poorly written. Starting with Ratchet, he begins as the old trope of the guy who wants more in life and dreams to be a galactic ranger. But once he becomes one, he's now just the bland hero who's so uninteresting, he would just blend in with the other characters for a good chunk of the movie.
Geez, numerous failures and elaboration are making me sound like a broken record.
Please perform my two statements.
Wait, what?
Please perform my two statements.
Priest before your tool statements? That sounds both out of place and gibberish. If you want me to refer back to your older statements, then you slurred your words together so badly that I failed to understand what you were saying. Retakes! Do them!
Because I'm not repeating myself. And second, please don't make that clip. No one loses clips anymore.
You'd be surprised.
You know, I understand that I'm really making this commentary really boring and really obvious.
If you think this commentary is really boring, then that's your cue to find something to make it more entertaining. Like finding a more humorous way to word some of these points, adding in a few jokes, and, oh, I don't know, sounding more lively and not like you just woke up a few seconds ago. Seriously, your acting here is so dull that it makes some of my acting from my older videos look amazing. Please don't! Alright, this is the point where I'm going to use his recorded footage in my commentary, because it's at this point where he makes a very fatal mistake in the editing area.
The most selfish, idiotic, hateable thing that this movie has to offer.
Oh, so Quark is a lot like he was in the original game. Good to know, mate. I mean, it's not like they did that to be loyal to the franchise or anything. That's just absurd, even for adaptation standards. Do you have anything to say? At all?
What a coincidence that this is from Rainmaker. Because he's like Scorched Supernova from Escape from Planet Earth, incarnated into a video game character.
What? Did you seriously just leave in footage you did not need for this video? It's fine if you have nothing to say for a certain part, but you need to edit out those parts you don't need. Otherwise your editing is going to look very lazily done. What's more is that you do this 3 times in the third part. Once here, then when I said it sounded loyal briefly, and my last point and final thoughts. You're not adding anything of substance, and you're just wasting everyone's time with this error. Learn to edit. And I'm going to switch back to my footage now. So if anything, Scorched Supernova is early Captain Quark incarnated into a movie character.
First of all, the reason why he compared Captain Quark to Scorched Supernova is because of the same character. And while I don't agree with him that Rainmaker made this movie, since the developers of Ratchet and Clank made this movie, but there's something you need to understand. Captain Quark and Scorched Supernova has the same personality in movie form.
I haven't seen Escape from Planet Earth, so I won't try to deny that, but you're missing the point of why I made that statement. I was never trying to deny it, because maybe Quark and Scorched Supernova are incredibly similar. I was playing that statement more up for less, since Quark keeps many of the traits he had in the movie throughout the entire series, which started long before Escape from Planet Earth even came out.
But let me tell you this. If you're going to watch reviews on people who review a franchise that they don't understand or anything, then please don't commentate on them. They just don't get it.
So in other words, don't try to help them out with things they don't understand then. Yeah, try again, I don't follow.
Just like Fred, Pokemon, etc. You should really understand that. Also, you're a good guy, I can understand that. But this review was just plain bad. Just keep in mind, critics have no interest in what franchise that they don't know about. That's just how it is. Deal with it.
You forgot the shades. 0 out of 10.
That's all I have for this commentary. Sorry this commentary wasn't good, and I just don't have edited software to have better quality for my videos.
Well, if you don't have one, get one! There are some that are free, and I'm sure $5 for iMovie on your iPad isn't going to take a huge bite out of your wallet. And after all that, the entire commentary ends. And oh jeez, this was a chore to sit through. On top of having horrendous presentation with the iPad camera basically doing all the work when there are much easier methods to make your video look better, the unneeded footage that dragged out the video, your voice sounding like you just woke up a few minutes ago, the constant pauses in the sentences, stutters, word slurs, and noticeable moments where you're trying to figure out what you should say and how you should say a statement, this entire commentary just consisted of you trying to hammer in one specific point that you worded and used so poorly that it ended up going against your intentions. And when you do try to add in other points, a great majority of the time you say things that had nothing to do with what I was even talking about, added absolutely nothing to the points you wanted to convey, ended up making some of my points from my original commentary look much more solid, outright agreeing with me without actively having any support for the weaker parts of my arguments, giving an unnecessary amount of exposition, making your videos much more of a chore to slog through, and being very vague on what could have been a decently valuable point. It just feels like you had a decent idea, but put little to no effort in creating it. Now, I'm not going to say that you were wrong for getting the idea to make a commentary on me, and that my original commentary on Animat was perfect. I would be lying if I said that. I will admit that my commentary on Animat wasn't very good, and I'm okay with people commentating on it, or any of my videos in general. But I seriously can't look at this commentary and say it has something to offer. It's a blank slate of nothing that tires everyone out and wastes their time. So what advice do I have? Well, how about this? If you choose to do more commentaries to make people understand a point, focus on what they got factually wrong first, since that's pretty much the biggest purpose in making commentaries to begin with, and then at the end of the video, bring up the point that you want them to get, so you will likely have valid criticisms to look back on and support your purpose even more. I'd also recommend getting some editing software for either your computer or your iPad, and an app that can download YouTube videos, because they will greatly work in your favor for almost any video. And should you decide to do more reviews, commentaries, etc., please write an actual script so that you can get a good idea of what to say. I'd also recommend writing your scripts not just in the clearest way possible, but also the shortest way possible. You can have some legitimately good ideas, but you need to find the best way to convey them in the shortest amount of time you can. Otherwise, you'll drag out the video and bore your audience, kinda like how you did in this video. And if you have any buddies, I'd recommend showing your scripts to them before you start editing, so they can point out any mistakes and you can take them out. And if you mess up on your recordings, please do retakes. They will be lifesavers. You seem like a nice person, and I do believe that you can make some good videos. Also, because you asked me to do this and admitted to some of your errors in that comment discussion we had in your third part, it gives me the impression that you're willing to listen to feedback. If it's one thing we can both see from my original commentary, your 3-part video, and this one, it's that there are definitely a lot of steps that we need to take, not just in commentaries, but in video making in general. I'm the Lightning Ripper, and I need to get away from this whole business involving Animat and the Ratchet & Clank movie. Maybe find something out of that lead to commentate on. Ooh, what's that over there?